Did you just say that the human brain can't distinct between 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second? That sound you don't hear is the entire gaming community trying to be very, very polite by not laughing at this. The human brain absolutely can tell the difference. In fact, the human brain can go even higher. Neurological studies show that the human brain maxes out its perception at about 1,000 to 1,200 frames per second. Now that's physiologically. That's an important distinction. We can process information up to 1,000 to 1,200 frames per second. Psychologically, as can we understand that information, that's much lower. To actually cognizantly be aware of something, you're looking at maxing out at about 500 frames per second. Fighter pilots have been recorded reacting to an image that shows for only 1/250th or 1/500th of a second. And detecting the difference between two images, that's even lower. That's between 60 and 120 frames per second. And I keep giving you ranges because visual reaction time can be trained. You can increase your awareness of basically a frame rate of a game or something. And people who have been playing action games and fighting games and shooters can very much tell the difference between 60 and 30 frames per second because they've played so much. So yeah, you can't go around saying 30 frames per second is enough. 30 frames per second is enough to give you a cinematic feel, and most movies are filmed at 24 frames per second for that feel. It's enough to convey motion, it's enough to convey emotion, it's enough to convey what's going on, but there's no user input in a movie. And studies show that when people look for user input, there's a certain amount of granularity they need. And 60 frames per second right now seems to be about the sweet spot. Though, of course, that could fluctuate up and down based on personal training.